Alexa, stop. Get ready to start the show here in a second, folks. So stay tuned. Three, two, one. What we got here? Let's see. Time. Yep, we're gonna kick it off. Always like to get you guys on live early so that okay, we're on the air and may as well start with a few Christmas tunes here. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. uh, we're going to have as a guest today Mr. John Legato. So stay tuned. We're going to start a little Christmas tunes here.
Hang all the mistletoe, I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together this Christmas. The fireside is blazing bright, we're caroling through the night.
And this Christmas. Little Donny Hathaway there.
Very special Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
For me.
Oh, yeah. Little Donny Hathaway. Okay. Let's wind that down and start to address some of the issues that at hand here. Well, we know we found out late Friday that the Supreme Court rejected the Texas case, and we had 17 other states that joined Texas, 18 other states, depending on who you talk to. Some people say it was 21 other states. I don't know. I didn't count them. I tell you, I got so depressed. Justice Alito and Thomas, of course, wanted to hear the case because they're real jurists, and they wanted to step up to the table and see that justice was done. And they came out and said it publicly that they wanted to hear the case, which I thought was admirable on their part. We need justices to stand up and do what justices do, which is interpret the law, not make law. Hope you guys are hearing me out there. Hope you can hear me loud and clear. Let's see. I'm going to make sure that you hear me. There we go. Put the little sound up a little bit. There we go. Strengthen that voice a little bit. So, wow, we got 7 people out there today. That's great. That's great. Pick it up. Need 170. Need 170,000. That would blow YouTube's mind. They're giving me enough problems as it is. But good afternoon, folks. Good afternoon out there to you folks on YouTube. You can go out and check us out at The Reality Check with Charles Butler at YouTube. And also, let's talk about Red State Talk Radio. We're out there too. So someone said, this is Tom. What did Tom say about loud and clear? Let's see. Oh, 5x5. Yeah, it's that 5x5. I got you. So look, guys, we're going to have Legato call in. And if Mr. Legato doesn't, what we're going to do is we can call John Legato from this system. This new system is really neat, I tell you. So when, I can do all these things and multitask at the same time, but we're going to talk about where the FBI is. And I'm trying to figure out where John is. Let's see. John Legato. Let me see. I'll go over here, go to text, see why John, because people get, when I put down 2:00, they think it's 2:00 my time instead of 2:00, the time on the see. Let's see. Here we go. It's calling.
Oh, God.
Hey, John?
I'm sorry. I missed it a few minutes here. Sorry.
Hey, John.
Yeah. Yeah. Charles?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hey. I don't hear him.
Charles, I'll call you right back.
No, hey, John. Hey, John. We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So,
Yeah. So look,
right.
I'm picking you up through a new system. I have a new system, and it's really beautiful. It's I'm playing you through my mixer, so it's all I'm learning this system. I've only had it now about 4 or 5 days. So when you didn't call in, I was like, boom, I could reach out to you on my system through my telephone and pull you up right on the air. So welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Charles. How are you? And I apologize. I had a dock guy come over, but never mind. Long story, but I'm here.
You had what come over?
A dock guy. I'm building a dock out. I'm on the intercoastal waterway, and I got a pontoon. First boat I ever owned, and the last boat I'll ever own. But now I needed a dock. Yeah.
Hey man, I love my boat, and I tell you, you can complain about them all you want. People say, well, if the best day was the day I bought it and the day I lost it. The day I sold it. But I tell you, I love getting up, going down, cleaning my boat off, and taking it out on the water, and I miss that. In fact, I hope to do that again soon. But look, man, you were an FBI agent. I didn't get a chance to introduce you because we kind of slipped in. But let me repeat. You were a former FBI agent, and you were a very senior FBI agent. You can share with our audience your experience at the FBI. But one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you on is you've talked in the past about how different the FBI is today versus the FBI you work with. I can't believe that the director of the FBI set on an investigation and information to an investigation on Hunter Biden for over a year because he thought it would affect the election. And on top of that, the attorney general. I mean, why do these people get a pass because of their names? What happened to the law?
That's a great question. It's the same thing I'm hearing now, is that the Supreme Court or the court system is reluctant to alter the election because of riots. I'm thinking, well, that's not their function. Let the police and National Guard worry about this. And answer your question, Director Wray, few people know this, but if you remember back in Bush 1, I think it was Bush 1, or no, it was Bush 2, when Ashcroft was the Attorney General. The director of the FBI was Mueller, and an Assistant Attorney General was Comey.
Right.
And they had some beef with the president, his decision. So they went to the hospital room. The Attorney General was in the hospital, Ashcroft, and they said, we resign unless you can change the president's mind. Who was in the hallway? And comes out, when they come out, and they said, well, what are we doing? Because if you resign, I resign. I'm with you 100%. That was Christopher Wray. And so then one might assume if he got rid of Comey, if the President Trump got rid of Comey, didn't anybody tell him that Christopher Wray and Mueller and Comey were like best buds? Nobody did.
Well, you know what? Trump allowed himself to get blindsided by these SOBs time and time again. He got blindsided with William Barr. What is wrong with this guy? This is a guy, excuse me, John, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is a guy in Donald Trump who thinks that somehow Diamond and Silk can impact black votes and black people about who he is. Is he crazy? We consider Diamond and Silk ghetto at best.
Well, I don't think he's crazy. I think that
he's entertainment.
He has entertained, but he's also, I think, a good president. But he takes advice from the wrong people. Rosenstein was the guy that recommended Wray for the job. He's also the one that recommended Mueller for the special counsel. and he's a snake himself. So he keeps listening. But that brings back the initial thing you mentioned about the FBI.
Okay.
And that is, where are we going wrong? Well, every FBI director was an attorney. Only two had law enforcement experience, which was Louis Freeh and Clarence Kelly. And the rest were all from the Justice Department, including Hoover. Louis Freeh was a federal judge. They come from the Justice Department or the federal bench. And why we need an attorney, and what they say at their confirmation hearing, every FBI director, is I understand the culture of the FBI. I understand the culture. I know them. I know agents. They're coming from the Justice Department, which is a political agency. They have no idea of our culture. And then they come into the FBI and they turn it into the culture of the Justice Department. And who we've just had, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, or politicians. They're
Right.
not, So the Bureau has changed so much in the last 25 years that it's unrecognizable to retired agents. I've been retired now 18 years. I don't recognize my bureau, but it's not the bureau I joined.
Well, okay, so we when I look at the intelligence group, and I'm gonna paint this with a broad brush, and I'm talking about all the intelligence agencies, NSC, the CIA, the FBI, and I'm gonna throw in there NSA. They have gotten everything wrong. That you can go back years and they have been wrong. They were wrong on ISIS. They were wrong on Boko Haram. They were wrong on weapons of destruction, mass weapons. I mean, you just go down the list, and when we go down the list, these people were all, but they subvert and they suppress and they attack Americans who are trying to do their job. You and I, and this is really interesting because as a boy, I watched the Tet Offensive and I wanted to be there with those Marines at Tet fighting. And you were there. And you were there so much that, I guess 2 years ago this time, you were at the White House with your former comrades, your former soldier, Marines in arms, getting John Canley the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for that again, John. I mean, every time I think about it, it just gives me chills to think about it. I did a story. I did a thing called Charles Butler After Hours on Dory Miller, the one of the heroes of Pearl Harbor, who was a black man who was never truly recognized by our country. And President Trump named an aircraft carrier, a super carrier after this man. I had heard about him my whole life. My parents always talked about him, but I could never read about him in a history book or a magazine because history had painted him out.
Yeah. The same thing with Gunny Canley. They just are going to name a ship after him. They just announced it, and well deserved.
But John,
you talk about intelligence failures.
Yes,
I taught a class at Campbell University for Marines on the 10 greatest intelligence failures.
Okay.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, Tet Offensive was one, 9/11 was, and I can go on and on. And what happens, and what happened to President Trump, is a process called burrowing. And what that is that say a liberal president comes in, Obama for 8 years, and he appoints to political positions key people and puts them in the intelligence community. Like, for example, the FBI can have civilians in key positions now.
Right.
And then what happens is right before that president leaves, if another party takes over, like in the case of President Trump, they start giving civil service status to these former political appointees to keep them in the government as revenge and to obstruct the new administration.
Yeah.
It's called burrowing.
Okay.
And that's what happened to President Trump. President Obama planted landmines on timers, and they have been going off for 4 years.
Yeah, like this this guy, Lieutenant Colonel, what's his last?
Vindman.
Vindman. Let me say this about Vindman, and John, you correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm off skelter here. Vindman serves at the NSC. He's a lieutenant colonel. Here's a man who came to this country. He and his twin brother, which sends up a signal to me that this is a Soviet somehow manipulative thing. We got two twins who come to America. These two twins has happened to go into the U.S. Army and matriculate through into the intelligence branch, and they both end up in the West Wing of the White House, and they still speak Ukrainian. And so what their co-workers said was when they were talking to the Ukrainians, they would start speaking Ukrainian, so they didn't understand what they were saying. And they said they often did this. And so you get, and nobody ever really reports on this, but you and I have talked about this. So what you get is Vindman was offered the Minister of Defense for the country of Ukraine. How do you go from being a lieutenant colonel, a lieutenant colonel, to being the Minister of Defense of a country? And you're a citizen of another country. Okay, work with that, John. Help me out. Help out the audience.
I can't. And the reason I can't, Charles, is before this whole thing with Comey 4 years ago,
okay,
people used to say conspiracy this, conspiracy that, deep state. And I said, you need to put a pie pan on your head, to stop from them. I never believed in any of it. And then I find, I was not a conspiracy person.
Right.
Here's what I said about government conspiracies. I said,
okay,
the definition of a conspiracy is simply to get two people to agree on doing something illegal.
Okay.
I said, number one, you can't get two people in the government to agree on anything. And then if they did, they would write a book about it. And I never thought in my wildest dreams, even movies like 7 Days in May, which was a government coup, a great movie. I thought even in my wildest dreams that could never happen in America.
Right.
And it did. You had the highest levels of the FBI. And my point is this. They had people there on the Clinton, there was 10 of them, email investigation, all in the bag. They had meetings where 6, 7 high-ranking FBI officials plotted, to go against the government. Like, who was it? Bill Priestap, who was a deputy director, saying, "What do you want to do? You want to get them to lie? You want to arrest them? You want to, what I mean?" You had these meetings. Where was some agent that would have stand up and said, "This is wrong. This is BS." And I'm not going to be a part of it, and I'm going to tell another. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
None of them. And what they did say in some of the emails is, we better get our own attorneys now, and we better get liability insurance, rather than having the courage. The FBI I knew was courageous people. A lot of Vietnam vets, military. I would have stood up and said, "No, we're the FBI. We don't do this,"
Mm-hmm.
And nobody stood up and said that.
No,
so
of course
that's not my bureau. Yeah.
No, but so we go back to you're a little surprised, but you say you're not really surprised, and I tell you, man, it really disturbs me that you have a guy like Vindman who what's his name? Biden is talking about bringing back into the White House. This is a guy who got ceremoniously booed when he left. I mean, here's a guy who goes to work every day in a suit, and he decides to come to the congressional hearings in his dress uniform. And then when he got put under oath, then he started telling the truth. Oh, well, I don't directly. I want to make a correction to our prior statement. I don't directly advise the president on the Ukraine. I write memos. I write reports. So I don't know if he really sees them. Whereas before, I advise the president. I mean, who the hell are you to this?
Wait a minute. The other thing about Vindman, and this is a myth that's perpetuated. There was a guy that ran for Senate here in Cal Cunningham against Tillis, and every commercial he had this Bronze Star, and they had a picture of him in combat here. And the same thing with Vindman. And I say that because they made a big deal out of Vindman having the Bronze Star.
No, the Purple Heart.
Well, I think he had a Bronze Star too.
No, Vindman? No, I don't think so. I think he just had a Purple Heart, because I started laughing at, I know a lot of people with a Purple Heart. But go ahead. No, I'm checking it right now.
Yeah. But if he had the Bronze Star like Cunningham,
right?
The Army, there's two Bronze Stars. People don't realize this. One is administrative,
like Biden got, like Biden's son got an administrative. I'm sure, yeah.
So, like for example, this Cunningham was an attorney, and he never left Washington, and he got a Bronze Star for participating in legal proceedings in Afghanistan and Iraq. He got a Bronze Star.
Yeah.
And the difference between a Bronze Star and combat is there's a combat V on it, but people just hear Bronze Star.
Right.
They don't understand that there's two. And I think Vindman, if you check, I thought he had a Bronze Star. Yeah. But anyway, he didn't get a Purple Heart. What did he get? Get a paper cut in the Pentagon?
Well, what happened was he was out on patrol, and he got some kind of wound from some shrapnel hitting his arm or something, but it was nothing serious. But he got and I had a 3-star admiral try to tell me that this guy was heroic. And I said to this friend of mine who's a 3-star, I said, man, listen, you gave your entire life to the military. That's who you are. You're going to tell me that a guy getting a scratch is a heroic achievement? It's not. I mean, it's commendable. I mean, he got wounded, but it wasn't above and beyond the call of duty.
Yeah, I mean, at Way City, you talk about the Tet Offensive. There was, we lost half the guys wounded or dead going in. There were 504 Purple Hearts for about 80 guys in a few-day period. There could have been twice that because, everybody had shrapnel and bullet. Guy was walking around, he had a bullet through his leg. He was using his M16 as a crutch. He refused medevac. I mean, so when you say that stuff, that has such a personal meaning to me.
Yeah, I can understand that. But they throw that term around like people go, oh, you're a hero. You served in the military. No, I served in the military with great honor and great pride. But no, I was not a hero. I'm not a hero because I served in the, but it's like John McCain and using his POW status as being a hero. John McCain was no hero. He was a POW. And I'm not trying to diminish the fact that he was a POW and how he served heroically as a POW. But when you say hero, we generally talk about someone who goes above and beyond the call of duty in service to the country and his fellow soldiers, sailors, Marine, or airmen, or Coast Guardsmen. Am I correct or wrong? Am I wrong?
Yeah, well, we've cheapened that whole word hero. I mean, they took Samantha Bee's a hero. Hugh Hefner was a hero. I mean, I don't even know. They just used it so much that it doesn't mean what it's supposed. Who's the kneeler, the quarterback? I can't even think of his name now.
Kaepernick.
Yeah, he's a hero. I mean, come on.
Hey, John, we know real heroes, and he's not one. Okay.
Oh my God! I was with 2 Medal of Honor winners on the day they won. I watched this stuff. Watched what a heroes are. All the guys I served with. I mean, they're amazing heroes, and
Well, John, you were right there with them, so you were a hero too. So I mean, I'm not shortchanging. You were in the stuff, man, and I tell you, I learned from that experience, and I wasn't there. I'm just listening, right? I'm reading everything, and I remember that damn Walter Cronkite. And if I ever get a chance to go by his grave, I'm gonna leave him a little something. But I remember him making the same move he made when he announced that Kennedy had died. He pulled off those big dark black rimmed glasses, and he looked into the camera and he said, "We have lost the Vietnam War. We have lost the Tet Offensive." And I'm thinking, I'm a kid, right? I'm red, white, and blue. I'm like, I can't wait to graduate from high school so I can enlist, right? And this guy is like, "We've lost the war and it's over for America. We need to pull out."
We didn't lose any battles.
No, we
That's the
didn't.
sad thing. The politicians were running it. I wrote a book called The Gunny, which I have a lot of the background material with the politicians running the war. I have a friend who was a POW, John Clark, and what happened is, and he was a prisoner of war over 6 years. On the day they were going to fly this mission, they were in the ready room, and they said, "This is the mission." And Clark stands up and says, "This is the same target area and the same route that we've been flying every week. Don't you think that the NVA, could time us, And the guy told him to say, "This isn't even coming from Vietnam. This is coming from Washington. These orders, this particular target, and this." But he got shot down and spent, 6+ years in the Hanoi Hilton because some politician was calling in missions based on politics.
That's what happened to. That's why Johnson killed himself. He knew. Okay. He knew that the war that he fought didn't do anything but enrich his friends. Ross Perot got rich. Bell Helicopter got rich. People got rich off of this war. They profited off the Vietnam War, including Johnson. So you look at the Afghan War, and like the president said, we don't need to be there fighting. These people have fought for over 700 years. I've often questioned this, John. Why in the hell do we allow young men from these countries, 18 to 35, to come into this damn country when our young men and women are going over there to fight for their freedom or whatever the hell they're looking for? They should be over there fighting for their own goddamn freedom.
Yeah, there's a lot of inequities, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot more. Charles? Let me ask you a question. Let me turn the tables here.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, John, you are now the host, and I'm the guest. Go ahead.
Yeah, this election, and with the probable cause and evidence, evidently the evidence that you read about with massive fraud. What's happening here? Why isn't the Justice Department is a executive branch, and the legislator is politicians? So we have this judicial branch here, who, when we have these beefs between legislators and executive branch, they come in and say, "We are experts at looking at evidence, facts and circumstances, probable cause. That's what we do, and we're fair. We're above that." What's going on? How come the courts are not reversing these elections, that there's evidence of fraud?
Well, I think that they're all in on it. See, people don't want to do the right thing. They want, in my opinion, I think that they want the sell-off of the American dream. They want the sell-off, and they don't mind the sell-off because it's intellectually stimulating. I think that we have a generation of people, and I look at the Supreme Court. How many people in the Supreme Court served in the military? How many people in the Supreme Court not only was in ROTC? I mean, these are people who think they're above the rest of us, and the rest of us are just worker bees.
One thing you just said reminds me of something. How many people? There's only one person. I'm pretty sure this is the truth. And the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett, that was not from an Ivy League college. Now, when you talk about elitism, what makes there's great lawyers that attend University of Chicago Law School or Dickinson Law School or whatever. But 8 of the 9, I think, are from Ivy League. What an elitist group. And I don't know how we have gotten to the point where we just assume if you graduated a certain college, you make a good Supreme Court justice. I mean,
yeah, well, that's all part of it. Like I said, they think that they know what's best for us, and they don't. I think that Thomas Sowell did a clip on that, and he talked about. I can't remember the title of the clip right now, but he was talking about that intellectuals have been driving the public opinion and public discourse. And while these people know a lot about their area, they don't know a lot about anything else. Like you have, and you and I, given our experiences over the years, we certainly know people like that who are very smart in one area, but they don't know anything else about life or living or business or government or the military or I'm sure you could still go in and give instruction on close quarter combat because you were there, you've experienced it. You in the FBI, you know about going in a building trying to get a perp and what that entails. But today, John, when you ask why the Supreme Court has punted, I think it's because they too are part of the swamp. I mean, this thing is so insidious. The swamp is so insidious that when a what do you call it? A congressman was asked to stop selling off the country, he was so cavalier that he said, "There's nothing you can do about it." Yeah, we're selling off the country, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what Al Green said. Congressman Al Green. He said, and Al Green, remember, he was calling for the impeachment of the president before the president was even sworn in.
Yeah. Well,
does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
No, you did, and you did answer the question, but none of it makes sense. I hear it intellectually, but you know what?
Thanks.
Yeah, no, but intellectually, I hear what you're saying. But I was raised on patriotic. Well, first of all of my parents and neighbors and aunt uncles were, part of World War II in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So we had that patriotism, and we had that, we were so patriotic because the greatest generation infused the next generation, which was my generation, with that patriotism, love of country. So intellectually, I hear you, but I can't believe what's going on with my heart. My heart says this can't be happening, but it is. So I don't know.
It is happening, and John, is going to continue to happen. You look at the appointments by what's his name? Oh God, what's that guy? Biden. You look at his new appointments. I mean, you look at his appointments. I mean, somebody said to me last night in the store, "Oh, well, things are going to get better. You'll see." Yeah, I said, "See, things get better, dude. Where have you been?" I said, 48. Biden's had 48 years to deliver something. He's delivered nothing. How can you say that things are going to get better? I said, really? I said,
well,
I asked the guy, do you really believe that?
I think that the bad thing, it's not even Biden. I mean, if you would have told me years ago, 20 years ago when Biden was a senator, that he could be president, say, it's not my choice, but, it'll be okay. But who he surrounded himself and how he has flip-flopped on everything from abortion to the defense, and he is not going to be president for long. I mean, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine him being president for long. So what we're going to have is a lot worse than Biden.
So you think Kamala is going to be president?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, it could be 6 months. First of all, his cognitive skills are gone, and he's who knows if he's even making decisions. But yeah, she's going to be president within a year. That's my guess.
Wow.
He's going to vacate the.
Here's a woman. Here's a woman who couldn't even. She was the first one to drop out of the race. She was the first one to drop out of the race. The only reason she was elected is because she's black, half black.
She's not even black.
Yeah, she's half black. She's not an American black. She's Jamaican. You can't. So anyway.
I don't know, Charles. I do know that with they could put a hurting in 4 years. You better fill up your gas tank now because it's $1.90 a gallon stuff's going to stop. And I live at Camp Lejeune, the Marine base, and they're going to cut back on defense. It's going to kill this town and this base, and look at Pennsylvania. He's going to do away with the fracking, and Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, is going to be a ghost town.
Well, this is the thing about Pennsylvania that tickles me. You bring up Pennsylvania. I went to bed, and Donald Trump was up by 600,000 votes in Pennsylvania with 73% of the vote in. Never forget it. Boom. 630-some thousand votes in. Donald Trump's ahead of Joe Biden. I'm like, God, this is going to be a killing, man. This is a slaughter. And 73% of the votes in. I woke up, and Donald Trump was 120-some thousand votes behind Biden, and only 63% of the vote was in. I'm going, what the hell? How in the hell does that happen?
Well, and that's what the courts need to decide. The one thing that they're using as a justification for not hearing it is the amount of votes. Like, for example, if Trump lost Pennsylvania by 100,000 votes, you need to show voter fraud of at least 100,000. You have to bring in evidence. Now, I think they have that. So I hear they have it, but I don't know.
Well, anytime that we as citizens are told by congressmen when they're confronted, and they say that, they say that you can't do a damn thing about the fact that we're selling off China. I have a problem with that. Listen to this real quick. This is Congressman Al Green.
Stop selling us to China. Stop selling us out to China. Stop selling us out to China. Stop selling us out to China.
Nothing you can do about it.
I
love you and you can't do a thing about it.
That you sell us out to China? He just said I can't do a thing about him selling.
That's a congressman who said, we're selling you out to China. You can't do a thing about it.
Yeah. Well, that's like when Harry Reid, after he said something about Romney, he influenced a lot of votes. He got caught, and he said, "Yeah, I lied." That's about elections. I mean, So what? And the sad thing is, Green's right. What can we do about it?
Well, I hate to say this, but there's a lot that can be done about it. He needs to be careful about what he says, because there are people out there who will take him out.
Yeah, and you hate to.
And you know what? And this is the deal. John. They say, "I will fall on the sword for the good of the country." And there are a lot of people, and we have a lot of vets who said, we're not going to let these people take over our country. It is apparent to everyone that Donald Trump was cheated out of the election. And so, while there may not be a bloody revolt, there is not going to be there's not going to be a harmonious relationship between the Biden presidency and the American people. Now, they can try to get cozy, and I think the Republicans want to get cozy with Biden on the Hill, but the American people aren't hearing it. We're not going to take it.
Well, I agree with that. I think that there's two flashpoints. One would be when they get in, if they go crazy on COVID, people are just going to have a passive insurrection. I know that the sheriff in Onslow County has said he's not going to enforce, curfews or anything like that. And I think a lot of other places won't. Maybe a blue city, the police chief will go enforce it. But the active insurrection would be if they come for guns. That is, I'm telling you, that would be an active insurrection. And I don't know, again, this sheriff won't come for the gun. So it would be in some areas where they would actually, if they ordered a confiscation or whatever.
Joe Biden said that he was going to put Beto in charge of taking all of our assault rifles. If they think for 1 iota that we're going to register, pay a registration fee, or any other that bullshit, we're not going to do it. We're not. And I'm using these terms and I'm saying these words because I really mean what I say. And I really mean that America and American people need to stop being so damn nice to these lefties and stand up and punch them in the nose. I believe in that. I mean, I am tired. It's like Antifa. They attack people Saturday at the march in DC, and all the stabbing was done by whom? It was done by the lefties, but nobody wants to say that. So you notice they haven't accused anyone of the stabbings, but all the stabbings were done by the protesters. You see what I'm saying? They were done by so they don't want to we want them to keep coming out and Antifa. No, we're going to hurt these Antifa people. And I tell you, this young man who shot those people in Kenosha,
he's getting off.
He better get off. As there should be an insurrection up there. I mean, that was self-defense. They hit this boy in the back of the head with a skateboard, with the edge of a skateboard. It could have killed him.
Well, and then the guy shot at him, and he fired back, which is the classic defense for deadly force. Is that he was trying to avoid it. The guy shot him. He shot back. It's such a classic.
Hey, John, but you know what I like about all of it? The guy who got his bicep shot out, he was the guy who shot. He said, man, he shot my bicep off. He shot part of my arm off. I'm like, dude, he should have shot your center mass. You know?
Oh, yeah. Well, right. I mean, I agree. Listen, the whole Antifa thing, I avoid any type of crowd. Like we went to Asheville about a week after they were there. And I know at my age and my background that if somebody comes and puts a microphone or a loudspeaker in my ear and starts screaming, I'm going to shove it through their face. I know it. So rather than do that, I would avoid, actively avoiding any crowds or protests or,
Well, John, you say that, but I was sitting at a stoplight this summer. And I was coming back from a friend's home up in Winnetka, and I'm just sitting at a stoplight chilling, and there are these Life Matter people, and they're in the middle of the intersection. Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. So I'm just sitting there, and you just picture this: big black guy sitting in a big Mercedes with his sunglasses, wraparound sunglasses on, and a hat, smoking a big cigar. Okay. And I'm not.
I got it.
And I'm not moving. I'm just smoking my cigar, right? I'm just puffing on my cigar. Got the car in park, and they're out there in the middle of the intersection doing their thing, and people are honking and gesturing. I'm not moving. I'm just puffing on my cigar. Poof. They come over to my car and start beating on my car, yelling "Black Lives Matter." Now, the thing is, I really didn't care about them beating on the car or denting the car or anything or scratching the car. I was like, that's not worth shooting someone on. I said, but if they start knocking the windows out of my car, I'm shooting these some bitches.
Yeah. Well, and technically, you had reason to. You've met the standards for deadly force. People don't realize the standards for deadly force, and they call it... what do they want in Florida? They have it. It's the same thing.
It's called Stand Your Ground.
Stand Your Ground. It's all the same thing. And every police department and the FBI has basically the same thing. But people don't realize there's two parts to the deadly force policy. And one is if you feel threat of imminent death or serious bodily harm. Mm-hmm. So you have all these police officers, they're throwing batteries, rocks, commercial fireworks that you are in fear of. If you are in fear of serious bodily harm, you can use deadly force.
Right.
And no one has done it. I mean, these cops, these poor cops, my father was a Philadelphia cop, and I was attached to several police forces, and one of them was New York. If you looked at a New York cop, if he was trying to question you and you said, get out of here, they would beat the snot out of you. Not that that's right. I'm just saying, you saw that poor, was a black captain, police captain, was being hit on the head with a club. I don't know if you remember that. The guy was leaning over a railing.
I remember that.
He hit. Now, in the day, they would just shot the guy. I mean, if you're hitting somebody over the head, that would be fear of serious bodily harm. And that's the problem, is there's no, Antifa,
well, see,
the rest of them.
But the beauty of what happened Saturday was the people fought back and they whipped Antifa's ass. Antifa was on the run.
Well, that's not hard to do. I mean, what is Antifa has some studs in there.
Well, it's a thought. Well, Antifa's not real. It's a thought.
Yeah.
Some
of them are, they get away with it because they're picking on the right people. I saw Antifa once. They stopped this old man from walking across the street.
Right.
He wasn't there for a protest.
Right.
He wasn't there. And when he tried to go around, they pushed him. And I'm thinking, it's an old man. I mean, they have the common.
You know what I'm thinking, John? Pull out that 45 and get off a couple of rounds.
Yeah, well, and
the beauty of that kid, though, in I didn't finish this up. The beauty of the kid in Kenosha was he didn't stand up and unload his magazine into the crowd. He just shot the people who attacked him.
Well, that's why he'll ultimately be found not guilty. You cannot get a jury of 12 people to convict him. And once the evidence comes in, they have a film of it. They have a film of the people firing at him and him firing back. And once the judge gives the jury instruction on what constitutes the use of deadly force, there's no way he'll be convicted.
We have a former police officer, Baltimore police officer on the line. He's holding. Guy named Tom. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good, gentlemen. Charles, thanks for taking my call. Listen, Agent Langford is a fantastic guest.
Legato.
You can just tell from what he's saying that he's got all the integrity in the world. I commend him for speaking honestly about his change of heart relative to conspiracy theories. Charles, you and I are friends off the air personally, and we've spoken at length about my views about the FBI and about the government, and we share a lot of the same beliefs about that. And the agent is absolutely right. Things on every point that he's made, really. There are conspiracies. Hell, like I've told you before, it's amazing to me how you hear about conspiracy theorists being nuts. Yet every day, the federal government puts people in jail for lengthy periods of time for conspiracy. The question I had for the agent, though, was this. Agent Langford, relative to what's happened with your agency, what do you think happened to send it on the path that it went on, which wasn't in a good direction, of course? Back when I was still on the street, I worked with some of your agents. I saw some of the younger ones who I was not impressed by. I worked with some of the older ones who referred to themselves as 13 on the bricks, and I know you know what that means. And I respected them. They were real police. These younger agents, I don't know what they are. I don't know what they've become. And I would say the same thing about police officers these days. What do you think has gone wrong in law enforcement?
Well, the recruiting, first of all. And the number one reason we are where we are is we have poor leadership now. When I got out of Vietnam, most of the agents, the supervisory agents, had been in the military. So they were leaders. They had been leaders. And what we've gotten now over the years is managers. They make decisions by decision avoidance. So they won't make decisions. And then they won't back the troops on the street. You were saying brick agent 13, that's a street agent. So we recruited badly. The FBI got too many academics in there. They got away from recruiting military and other law enforcement agencies. Cops and a lot of the FBI agents were former police officers. And that's when the Bureau was the Bureau. I mean, and so we've gotten away. The recruiting's bad. Just the whole thing. And we have no directors that have stood up for the troops and stood up to Congress and told legislators, get out of here. We're the FBI. So in a nutshell, it's leadership.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And in fact, you've confirmed what I've been saying. I used to be a background investigator when I held a detective's position. That's what I did. And I said to Charles, with a lot of these shootings that oftentimes are justified, but have a lot of questions surrounding them relative to, for me at least, the number of times that these cops are pulling the trigger. It just wasn't something that was in the realm of sanity back when I was working as a cop. Emptying a clip just doesn't, I can't wrap my mind around that. And I've asked the question, why aren't the folks who vetted these people, the background detectives, being questioned about what the hell happened here? And I love the point, by the way, and I'll end with this, that you brought up about the leadership of the FBI. I've said to Charles many times on air, you know what? These leaders that are leading the FBI, supposedly a premier law enforcement agency, they are not cops. They're lawyers. They're politicians. And you also verified that point as well. Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, it was Tom from Baltimore. It's great to have that perspective from a former police officer and a former FBI agent. You know, you guys were out there and kept this society held together. You know, I think, John, you touched on a key point about the kind of people we are recruiting. You know, I saw that video in Kenosha where the man beat up 3 police officers and they couldn't stop him from getting in his vehicle and had to shoot him in the back. And then I saw 2 police officers get beat up by a guy in Atlanta. I mean, in the old days, that didn't happen. I mean, these guys who, you know, they weren't that big. They weren't, you know, they weren't combat trained or anything. They beat 2 cops. One guy beat 2 cops and one guy beat 3 cops, you know, before they were shot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to be predisposed. That's another problem, is that we're getting civilians in. Like, for example, at the FBI Academy now, when I went through the FBI Academy, we had boxing every day. And why did we have boxing every day? Is because we had to go make felony arrests, and there were times when they didn't want to be arrested. So, for one time, I went to arrest a guy, punched me in the face, and you know, but I had been punched in the face in South Philly in the Marine Corps, on Liberty and Okinawa, you know. Yeah. So I knew how I was going to respond. But the problem is, a lot of people going in law enforcement now have never been in a physical fight.
Right. 70%. 70% of people at the FBI Academy never had a fight in their life.
I didn't know the percentage, but there goes. So you ask him to do felony arrest by felons who are, you know, weightlifting and been in 100 fights in the last year. Yeah. And you have no idea how they're going to react. Like the agents that knelt before Black Lives Matter in DC, if you looked at them, first of all, there used to be a weight limit in the Bureau. There was a few chubby girls there that I looked and thought, oh my God, now they got guns, they got badges on.
How are they going to catch anybody? Do you ever notice, this is what I noticed, just even in TV. So I love Blacklist, right? I mean, I love it's one of the better television series. But Elizabeth can never catch anybody. Elizabeth, and then you get the guy who's running, and he's not running much faster than Elizabeth, a chick. Okay. And I'm going, wait, you know, it's like when I see these guys out running with their girlfriends. Well, my thing is, well, I hope you've really ran and worked your body before you're out here running with your girlfriend, because you can't they've done study after study after study. They started these studies back in the 70s when I was in service, of men and women training. And every conclusion of men and women training is always that the unit, it cannot perform to the level it does when it's all male.
Oh, yeah.
So whether Army, Marine Corps, Navy, it doesn't make any difference. And these people keep rolling over like Colin Powell. When I see Colin Powell, I'm going to kick him square in his nuts.
I don't know about that, but
well, I got to weaken him a little bit. You know, he's no punk.
Yeah, he could have been president
He could have
and
been.
you look back at that and you say, wow, even though he's a liberal, you say, at least the office would have had some dignity and.
Well, that's one of the arguments against Trump. But look, what we're going to do is I got to sign off with the Red State. So give me 10 seconds. Hey, my Red State folks, thanks for tuning in. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern, 1 to 2 Central. Join us. Have your friends join us. Thank you for tuning in. We got John Legato. He's going to be finishing up, but we're still out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay. You guys have a Merry Christmas. Okay, John, let's keep rolling.
Oh, what's that? Keep rolling.
Yeah, we keep rolling. Because see, we're live. I'm broadcasting live. I mean, I'm doing a live stream and I'm doing a visual. I'm streaming not only my voice, but my video on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter simultaneously.
Wow, you're multi-dimensional.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do here shortly is I'm going to get some software where you can be. It's going to be like television. You're going to be on here with me, but we're going to get a TV show here shortly, John. So you'll be getting some national play. But I want you also to tell folks about how to get your books, and that because I always like to plug your books because I've read them and I have enjoyed them immensely.
Well, thanks, Charles. My last book was the Comey Gang, which is about what we're talking about today, about how the FBI lost its way and how there is a conspiracy and a deep state. And I would also recommend probably my favorite book is called The Gunny. All my other books are on Amazon and Simon & Schuster, but The Gunny is only available at the Marine Corps Association website, and you don't have to be a member to join. So you can just go on there and get The Gunny, and it's about a Medal of Honor recipient that was lost. 50 years. John Canley. I can't say enough about Sergeant Major Canley. One of the most courageous people ever He could have gotten 2 or 3 Medal of Honors. And that's a good book, and it's about Vietnam, the Battle of Way City and Tet Offensive.
Yeah, but this guy lived 50 years. How many of your friends, how many of your fellow Marines have lived that long? I saw you guys there at the White House, man, and I was so proud of you guys. You guys stood up. You still have that Marine Corps swagger. You still have that ramrod straight posture. And I tell you, John, I just love you guys, man. Just love you.
Well,
I mean,
we love you back, but we're starting to sway a little. But thank you.
You tickle me. I saw you guys struggling to get that Marine up, but he got up. You know what I'm saying? He got up. I mean, that's that. I mean, I knew what that meant. I mean, a lot of people didn't understand it, but those of us who've served together, you guys reached out, helped him up.
Let me tell you a quick story that's hilarious. President Trump didn't know he was in a wheelchair. He just had his name.
Right.
And he said, Pat Fraley, and he's turning around, he's looking around. I'm the one that was right behind him. I wheeled him in there. Uh-huh. And General Kelly was about 3 feet from me in the next row, but right there. So what happened is, as the president's looking around, he sees me moving, and he turns and sees a guy in a wheelchair who he just asked to stand up, because he said, "Stand up, Pat." And he gets panicked. There's several views of the president on YouTube. And so I'm trying to get Fraley up, and I'm poking him in the ribs and saying, "Get up, you fat." and he's laughing. He can't, and I'm poking him, and he's laughing when he can't. And finally, General Kelly came, and he was laughing, and we got Pat up, and the president said, "I knew you can do it." But
I saw that, man. I loved it. You guys, you did what the president asked you to do, and you could tell that you guys were, you were having a lot of fun. I mean, it was just who you are. And General Kelly's the real deal. You're the real deal. All you guys, man. It was, for me, I watch that clip on YouTube. I watch it frequently because it just reminds me of how the brotherhood, how great you guys.
The brotherhood, you're right.
And I swear to God, the biggest regret that I ever had was not becoming a Marine Corps officer. That's my biggest regret in life. Not
Charles, you would have done great. Knowing you, you would have been an outstanding Marine officer.
Because I love my men, John. I love, that was my problem in the Navy. I paid too much attention to the men when other people, the naval tradition is to look down upon the sailors, and the officers eat the beef and the gravy and the potatoes, and the guys in the mess room gets the beans and whatever's left over, the salt pork. And I just never. That's not me. Whatever we eating in the field, we eating together. I make sure everybody got what they need, and then I get mine. But because I had little brothers, and so I've always and I took care of people in the neighborhood. I'm a protector, and so my when I go back to reunions, that's what everybody kind of remembers, is that I was a protector. I was the guy that stood up, and if there was a bully in the room, I'm the guy who dealt with it, right? I'm like, hey, no,
Yeah, well, that says a lot about your character, and that tells me too, you would have made a great Marine officer leader.
But I tell you, my friends who were Marines, they all said the same thing, John. I mean, like I said, the only reason I didn't become a Marine was that my mother cried like a baby when I said I was going to become a Marine officer. They said, we went to as a midshipman, we went to a 8-week training up at Newport, Rhode Island. And people who wanted to be a Marine officer, we had to take a special test. We had to do, basically, what do you call it when you the obstacle course? And then you had and then we finished that with a 2-mile run. Well, I finished number 1 in everything. I finished, man. I was gung ho, baby. I mean, man, I was on cloud 9. I got off the plane, got a cab to the house, went in and told my mom and dad I'd made the cut to be a Marine officer. And man, my mother just broke down, man. I'd never seen my mother cry before in her life. But, we had a number of young men, just to aside, everybody in my neighborhood became a Marine. Nobody enlisted in the Army or the Air Force. They all became Marines. And we lost a couple of kids from our neighborhood in Vietnam. And they were great kids. They were great kids, John. They were great young men before they went in, but they went in to serve their country. So when I see a guy who talks about how he dodged the war and I went to Canada and all that crap, I try to avoid those people in those discussions because I don't like them. I just don't like them. That's a decision that they made, but if they press me on it, it's just like anything else. I have my values. I have my morals. I believe in traditional values. In fact, when I let you go, I'm going to do a piece on puberty blockers that are dangerous, so that the children, the transgender community is saying that we should give our children puberty blockers so that they can determine their sexuality. How crazy is that?
Oh, man, I don't even want to hear that.
Exactly.
Every time I hear something like that, I think, God, I'm glad I'm 73.
Hey, John. John, look, thank you so much for being with me, man. It's always wonderful to have you aboard. Please tune in tomorrow. I'm going to have General Spalding call in. General Spalding wrote the book talking about China and how we sold out to China, and how Barack Obama gave classified information and gave China the ability to build quieter submarines and all kinds of stuff, man. It's incredible.
Well, you keep fighting the fight. Really, we need that kind of information getting out. So,
well, thank you, John, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
You too, Charles. Always a pleasure.
You
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, sir. It's Mr. John Legato. I tell you, wonderful, wonderful American, and as you know, I'm always about America and American. But I want to get into this story real quick. There's this guy, this transgender guy, and I couldn't really get back to it. I couldn't. His first name is Zachary. I couldn't get the last name. Because he changed it as a woman. Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you enjoyed that segment. That's my good buddy John Legato. Love John to death. Anyway, This transgender guy is talking about children should be given puberty block. Who the hell is this guy? He's a nobody. He's a transgendered freak. He needs to get some psychological help. So, Dr. Paul R. McHugh, MCHUG. Paul McHugh. He's a distinguished professor of psychiatry at Johns Hopkins University and School of Medicine, and the former psychiatrist in chief at Johns Hopkins. He says that he wrote a paper. It's called "Growing Pains: A Problem with Puberty Suppression in Treating Gender Dysphoria." It was co-authored with a professor named Paul Hertz. He's over at Washington University School of Medicine, which is in Washington, D.C., along with Larry Meyer, who's a scholar in residence at the Johns Hopkins Medical School. And he's also a professor at Arizona State University. Excuse me. The first point that they make about this gender suppression stuff is a recent and dramatic increase in young people receiving treatment for gender identity issues. One of the many examples is they use gender identity development service in the UK. And they saw a 200% increase in referrals in 7 years, from 94 children to about 2,000 children, 1,986 in 2016. So they went from 94 children between the years of 2009, 2010 to almost 2,000 children, 16. And these children just want attention. Oh, I'm special. Oh, I get attention because I'm a queer. Man, they're messing up their lives. And their parents with their dumbasses are worse than anyone else. Get control of your kids. They're children. They don't know jack blank. They know nothing. They're children. The paper challenges 3 key claims, which have all been borne out in the research that I've done. And this is from 2017, this article that I'm reading. So they said, first, the treatment is reversible. No, it's not reversible. They said, let's hold off on the puberty solution and meant to delay the development of the most prominent features of a child's biological sex while the child wrestles with his or her gender identity. But Hertz, Myers, and McHugh argue it remains unknown if regular sex-type puberty will resume following suppression. It doesn't. It's irreversible. That's what they're saying. It's irreversible. That's what the new studies are saying. This was done in 2017. Everything I've read 2020 said it's irreversible. Second, the treatment is harmless. It's not harmless. Puberty suppression. The hormones prevent the development of secondary sex characteristics. They arrest bone development, decrease bone accretion, and prevent full organization and menstrual of the brain. Maturation, I should say, maturation of the brain. That's what it says, maturation of the brain. And inhibit fertility. So they write in a Supreme Court brief filed in the Gavin Green case, and they go on to list other possible side effects of cross-gender hormones, oral estrogen and testosterone, including sterility, coronary disease, cardiovascular disease, and elevated blood pressure and breast cancer. Finally, the treatment is cautionary, and they talk about it. So here we have these, what I consider freaks, these transgender people dictating what public policy should be based on their experience. Well, it's something like 99.9% of men who have their penises removed regret the operation. It's like 99.9%. Seriously, look it up if you care to look that kind of bizarre thing up. I mean, it's just too much. It's too much. I can't take it. Hey, but let's talk about this. Boom. Michigan judge allows the state of the Secretary of State to intervene in a case inviting the Dominion voting machine. So what they said is they're going to allow the Secretary of State of Michigan to protect the Dominion company and its software. Well, we all know the Dominion software is flawed. Hot off the press today, a forensic audit of the Dominion voting system and machines and software in Michigan showed that they were designed to create fraud and influence election results. A data firm said today. They said this is the statement released by the forensic firm. We conclude that the Dominion voting system is intentionally and purposefully designed to inherent errors to create systemic fraud and influence election results, said Russell Ramsland Jr., co-founder of Allied Security Operations Company, in a preliminary report. And I read the preliminary report. It is very scathing about Dominion and the holes in the Dominion software. So he goes on to say the system intentionally generates an enormous high number of ballot errors. The electronic ballots are then transferred for adjudication. The intentional errors led to bulk adjudication of ballots with no oversight, no transparency, no audit trail. This leads to voter and election fraud. Based on our study, we conclude that the Dominion voting system should not be used in Michigan. Further, we conclude that the results of the Adrian County should not have been certified. Wow. Now, this is a former Reagan administration who's worked for NASA and other from the group have examined Dominion products in Amram County earlier this month as part of an ongoing case. Boy, this is bad. This is real bad. But you get what you vote for. Michigan voted in these Democrats. That's what you get. But you know, they had a Republican governor, and he was so bad, he let the water in Flint. They messed up the water in Flint. It was killing people. People need to go to jail. I say that all the time. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. People need to go to what? Jail. And they need to go now, as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe in playing favorites because people are Democrat or Republican. But these Dominion systems in Michigan were found to generate fraud because that's what they do, generate fraud. Wow. Incredible. Incredible. Hey, well, look, we got to get busy. We got a lot to do here and catch up on. And I'm going to play a little Donny Hathaway. And this Christmas will be. So we're going to pick up with a little Donny Hathaway and little Christmas music, and we'll be back tomorrow with General Spalding, probably, and Frank Venucio. Take care.
This Christmas, and as I look around, your eyes outshine the town they do. This Christmas, fireside is blazing bright. We're caroling through the night, and this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me, yeah. Shake a hand now.